That was David Schrader, our organist. Thank you, David Schrader. That was wonderful. How many film festivals in this whole world have their own organist? David Schrader, thank you. And welcome. I am so happy to see you all back at Ebertfest. It's been 2 years, I guess, since we've seen each other.
3 years.
Oh my God, 3 years since we've seen each other. And everybody looks good. I hope everybody's healthy. And if you're not, wear a mask. But I want to tell you that tonight, this film festival, there are 3 people who've been working on it really hard with me. Number 1, Nate Cohen, the festival director from day one.
It's great to finally be back in the Virginia Theater. I've really missed it, and I hope you are happy finally to be back. I'm wearing my Ebertfest hat because I don't want you to know how much more hair I've lost in the past 3 years. So you too can get an Ebertfest hat. They're for sale in the East Lobby. But really, we're so happy to finally be back with Ebertfest as it was meant to be. So sit back and enjoy the next 3.5 days.
And some of you, I'm sure, have been in direct contact with the other person who's worked so hard to make this festival happen. That is our festival coordinator, Dr. Andrew Michael Hall. Andy.
I'm just very grateful to work with both Nate and Chaz, who inspire me every day to do my best for a festival that they have so much enthusiasm for, and a crowd that they love so very much, and they're always so excited to come and join you here at Ebertfest, so thank you.
And the third person I'm going to introduce in a minute, but I want to ask, how many of you had to get on a plane to come here? Just raise your hand. Oh, wow, okay. How many of you had to take a bus or a train to come? Some? Oh, yes. How many drove? The reason I'm asking you that is because of something that I'm discovering in our new normal, in this post-pandemic world. It's not really post, but almost post-pandemic world, post-quarantine world, I'll call it. We had the big pause, and excuse me, I'm okay. I have asthma. You might hear me cough sometimes. I'm okay. I have my mask. I'm vaccinated. I took a test before I came. This is the new world we live in. And I found myself a little with something that I had never really experienced before. I have claustrophobia, which is a fear of small places, but I developed an anxiety about being in crowds, about speaking before crowds, and it's something that is new to me because I've been sort of a public speaker for a lot of years, and even when I was a kid in grade school, high school, college, I was always the one who had to give the speeches at the assembly or give the president's speech or something like that. And so I didn't even know that there was such a thing as a fear of public speaking, but now I have it. And I'm just going to tell you that up front. I'm not going to belabor it, but I'm going to tell you that in this new world, the reason I asked how many of you had to come, get on a plane, get on a bus, I've started getting letters from people who said, I want to come, but all of a sudden I'm afraid to leave the house, or I have a fear of being in a group of people. I don't know if they're going to wear masks, or I want to come, but I'm nervous for some reason. I have so much compassion for those people. I have so much, Roger always talked about empathy, and it is so easy for me to put myself in the shoes of someone who, after being isolated, after being, quarantined, after having, some people have lost family members, some people have lost jobs, some people have lost just a sense of self. It is so great to be back among the land of the living with you and to watch movies with you. And I just wanted to tell you I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you. And because of that, we decided one of the things that we wanted to do is have more music. I'm going to come back to tell you about the music and about how we're going to start tonight. But first, I have to introduce you to the third person who's helped so much, and without whom this festival wouldn't exist. And it's Dean Tracy Sulkin. She is the Dean of the College of Media at the University of Illinois. She previously served as a professor of political science in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences and the interim executive associate dean of the College of Media. She started as an assistant professor 2 decades ago at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, and she was jointly appointed to the Department of Political Science and the Department of Speech Communication. And we would like to congratulate her. Oh, I didn't know this. Let's congratulate Dean Tracy Sulkin on the 20th anniversary at the university and welcome her to the stage. Dean Sulkin.
Thanks so much. Good evening, everyone. As Chaz said, my name is Tracy Sulkin, and as Dean of the College of Media at the University of Illinois, I'm delighted to welcome you to the 22nd Annual Ebertfest. It's been a few years since we've been together, sitting in this historic theater, enjoying films together. And tonight, at long last, we finally get to renew the tradition. Ebertfest, as we all know, is about sharing stories that evoke empathy and compassion. And Ebertfest itself tells a powerful story. From the College of Media's perspective, our hero, a young man named Roger Ebert, an Urbana native, pursues a journalism degree at the University of Illinois, demonstrates the value of movie criticism at the Chicago Sun-Times and through his television programs, and becomes the first film critic to win the Pulitzer Prize. And then our hometown hero, now with his own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, decides that he wants to shine a spotlight on movies that merit extra attention and thoughtful discussion. He wants to bring together critics, filmmakers, and members of the community to engage in these conversations. And he invites his alma mater to be part of his vision, which we now all know as Ebertfest. Since its inception, Ebertfest has drawn producers, directors, writers, actors, students, and movie enthusiasts from across the country. More than 2 decades later, here we gather to experience films together. We are very thankful to Roger Ebert for his legacy. And we have even more reason to celebrate Roger this year. I'm happy to share the news, just announced in February, that thanks to a collection of generous donors, inspired by a lead gift from Roger and Chaz Ebert, the College of Media is officially launching the Roger Ebert Center for Film Studies. The new center will support research on film and will offer annual programming for students and for the general public. including the Ebert Symposium and Ebert Lecture and film screenings. So stay tuned for events from the Roger Ebert Center for Film Studies, including a kickoff event in fall 2022 on the U of I campus. As we welcome the return of Ebertfest, the College of Media is proud to be host of this landmark festival. Thank you to our partners at the University of Illinois, the Champaign Park District, our loyal sponsors, our dedicated volunteers, and you, the movie fans. Thank you for helping us to bring these films and their creators to town. And let's all ensure that future generations know the story behind Ebertfest and have the opportunity to be part of this enriching tradition. Finally, a very special thank you to Andy Hall and to Nate Cohn, who organize and direct the festival, and to our co-founder, producer, host, and friend, Chaz Ebert. We appreciate all the hours you spend on making this a memorable experience every year. So once again, on behalf of the College of Media at the University of Illinois, welcome to Ebertfest.
So I was talking about anxiety, and at home, when I have anxiety, I listen to some music because it calms me. I think that music is its own language, and I find it to be a very soothing language, depending on the music. You know, if I'm listening to hard rock, you know, that's not soothing, but I did find that if we listen to music, it really speaks to something deeper. It goes past a lot of things, and it really hits our senses. And so this Ebertfest, we decided to have more music than usual. We're going to have 2 different musical performances tonight, one before the movie and one after the movie. On another day, we invited Renee Baker and the Chicago Modern Orchestra with her 10-piece orchestra down in the orchestra pit. We're going to have that with a silent movie. And then we have a beautiful little movie that some people made in Cuba called Soy Cubana. Yes, youngers. And we're going to have a performance of Afro-Cuban music after that. So I hope that most of you have passes for the whole 4 days of the event, because it's going to be joyous. And we're going to start with, we wanted to open the festival tonight on a different note. About 2 years ago, I woke up one morning, opened my email, and I found that I had lots of emails from people, more than usual. I get a lot of emails every day, but these were all, the subject was Roger Ebert, and I thought, what happened? And someone said, have you heard that there's someone who wrote a song called Roger Ebert? I said, oh, was it about another Roger Ebert? They said, no, it's about your Roger Ebert. I said, what's the song about? And they said, about Roger's dying words. And I said, but how would they even know what his dying words were? They said, well, remember you did that interview with Esquire magazine or Rolling Stone, one of the magazines. I said, oh, okay, yeah, I did. So I listened to the song, and I liked the song, and the words that he said were actually true to the experience. And so I read a little bit about the musician before I contacted him on social media. And I liked what I read, and I liked what I heard about him. And we actually invited him to open the festival 2 years ago. But then, you know, we had the big pause. And he was touring, and I didn't know if he would come back. And he told me, when I contacted him, he said, you just tell me the date, I'll be there. So let me tell you who he is. Eve Barzilay, also known as Clem Snide, the Israeli-born singer-songwriter named his group Clem Snide after a William S. Burroughs character. William S. Burroughs was one of Roger's favorites too, actually. I don't know if Eve knows that. First emerging from Boston as a three-piece in the early 1990s, the group would go on to become a cult and critical favorite, picking up high-profile fans from Bon Iver to Ben Folds over the course of 3 decades and more than a dozen studio albums. His beautiful song, Roger Ebert, premiered on his 2020 folk album, Beyond Forever, just beyond. Please help me welcome to the stage, Clem Snide.
Well, it's such a pleasure to be here. Thanks to Chaz. Yeah, this is it. We're kicking it off. We're kicking it off with this song. It goes like this. Check it out. Did you know these were Roger Ebert's dying words? Did you know these were Roger Ebert's dying words? It's all an elaborate hoax. It's all an elaborate hoax. And he looked ever peaceful, he looked ever young, accepting his moment soon would be done. He wrote in a note that he passed to his wife as he felt himself shedding the skin of this life. It said, there is a vastness that can't be contained or described as a thought in the flesh of our brain. It's everything, everywhere, future and past, dissolving together in an eternal flash. With no words to say that he loved her so much, his hand seemed to pass through whatever it touched, and the credits that rolled listed all of God's names as images floated away from their frames. From their frames. Did you know these were Roger Ebert's dying words? Did you know these were Roger Ebert's dying words? It's all an elaborate hoax. It's all an elaborate hoax. That's all it is. Thanks so much. Enjoy the festival.
all an elaborate hoax. That's what Roger said. And I said, what's an elaborate hoax? He said, wrote, this whole thing, it's an illusion. He said the past, the present, and the future exist simultaneously. And I wish that we had had more time to talk about what that meant, but we didn't. But Eve picked up on it and wrote a nice song about it. So thank you again, Eve Klemsnide. And so we're going to go on with this illusion, because when I think of illusion, I think of imagination, I think of films, I think of moving images, and that's what movies are. Movies are an illusion. Some of the illusions, make us laugh. Some of the illusions make us cry. Some of the illusions make us feel love. Some of the illusions make us feel revulsion. But they all make us feel alive. And one of the things that I did during the quarantine is watched lots of documentaries. I love documentaries. I always have, but even more so in the last 2 years, I've started really appreciating them even more. And Roger always did. He was one of the first critics who would actually, when he in his top 10 list, would start mingling the documentaries. Documentaries used to put them in a separate category on the top 10 list. And he said, you know what? Some of these documentaries are as good as or better than narrative features. So he started putting them together. Sometimes he had a list of documentaries, but there's one documentary last year that almost every critic gave universal acclaim to, and some of the audiences who got to see it, I don't know where people were seeing things last year. Some movie theaters were open, not many, but we saw things streaming, I guess. That's a new thing. But everyone who saw this movie loved it. And that's the movie that we decided to open the festival with. I'm going to read just a few words about Summer of Soul. It was one of the most important and eye-opening cinematic experiences. Amir Questlove, he likes people to use his name, Amir Questlove, Summer of Soul, or When the Revolution Cannot Be Televised. It features extraordinary footage of the 1969 Harlem Cultural Festival, where various Black music legends performed. In his 4-star review, our critic Odie Henderson described how he felt after seeing the picture. I walked down to what is now Marcus Garvey Park, and I stood inside, looking around and picturing the energy, the camaraderie, and oh yes, the Blackness that emanated from those concerts. It was hot as hell outside, but I felt simultaneously exhilarated and haunted, as if some energetic remnant of the Harlem Cultural Festival were still hanging in the air, passing through me and touching my soul. That's what it feels like to watch Summer of Soul. Its existence is a testament with immense love and undeniable talent. Now, that was the same year as another festival that became very Woodstock, but a lot of people had not seen. People call this the Harlem Cultural Festival, now that it's been discovered, the Black Woodstock. And they happened a few months apart, and Amir Questlove found this old footage that was hidden away in a basement for 50 years. They saw it, and they started looking through it and started putting some things together. And we invited him to come, but I ran into him when I was at the Grammys week, and he apologized. He said he would be here, but he's going to Brazil. But he said that he hopes you enjoy this film. And after the film, we're going to have another musical performance by Tammy McCann, Miss Tammy McCann, the jazz singer, and yes, and a local group called Therapy, headed by a Plustradamus, and they'll be on stage afterwards. So enjoy the Summer of Soul.